everybody. Adam Savage at Propstore in London, and we are talking models. Stephen, tell me about this beautiful Enterprise.
Yeah, you've got to love model miniatures, haven't you? There's just so few and far between today, and they're so tough to track down. This was believed to have been the Enterprise, and I think it's really, really important to get this information out now and document it correctly. This went through the original Paramount CBS sale in 2006 in New York.
Okay.
And at that point, it was designated as having been used in yesterday's Enterprise, the time travel episode, where we see the sea for the first time, and it got battle damaged in that episode. And then subsequently, we see this appear as two other ships later on through Next Generation. Now, it was always believed, and it was documented during that auction as well, that it was one model that got refurbished, repaired, and then back out. Actually, as it transpired and turned out many years later, it was a brand new model that was built by Greg Jein. So this was never actually an Enterprise, even though it has been recorded as an Enterprise. It is the same model of ship, but this was actually used specifically as the Yamaguchi, the USS Yamaguchi, and then also the Excalibur as well, and possibly a third ship on top of that too. So a wonderful miniature from this era, but interesting history to it as well.
There's so much to go over about why it's interesting. This was my bailiwick. Hard-edged ship modeling was what I did in the industry. It was one of the things that I love to do. And I actually worked on some toy prototypes for Galoob at the same time Greg Jein was building some prototypes for Galoob. So I got to see some of his handiwork in development up close. And Greg, who passed away this year very sadly.
So sadly, yeah.
Such a legend, one of my heroes as a model maker. But this ship shows off some really key aspects of his model making prowess that is often hard to see in situ. And specifically what I want to call out is when you get right up close to it, like an inch away, it doesn't look that great. Like, some of these pieces look pretty crunchy from really close up.
Sure.
And that is something that I've noticed about a lot of Greg's models, that from very close, there's not a high level of like obvious quality, but then you back up like 3 inches and everything falls into place. And this, as a modeler, I can tell you, he is saving time that way.
Yeah.
By not worrying about that last inch, he's saving tons of time in getting this model out the door on schedule, on time for whatever the director wants. Yeah. And at one point on the toy job I was working on, John Goodson, one of the best modelers at ILM, said to me, "Oh, you've seen a Greg Jein up close? Tell me what you thought of it." And he had the same impression, and we're just comparing notes because it's a totally different way of thinking through a model.
Yeah, yeah.
The other thing that's really beautiful about it is the efficiency of all the stickers he used to create the topography across the ship's surface. These escape pods that are little squares of sticker.
So simple, but it just works so well, doesn't it?
It really sells, absolutely. I mean, we think of models as having this really complicated topography, but this is basically paint and scratches and stickers, and that is 95% of the surface detail.
And do you think that's just as much representative of the era as well? I mean, we're talking about next gen, we're talking about a period where people were really only seeing it in reasonably low resolution on their TV screens, which were probably tube TVs or the very earliest of plasma TVs or something like that. Yeah. And so there wasn't really the consideration that even if the camera was coming in that close, that the quality, the resolution of the shot was going to be that tight when you compare that to today.
You're totally right. I mean, even shortly after this in the 2000s, we were cutting friskets for painting this, and we'd get a much more refined sort of window layout because you'd be able to sort of sculpt that. And you'd be also going for being able to survive much higher resolution shots, much closer camera passes.
Yeah. Yeah, but beautiful though, isn't it? I mean, it's just it's an art, a dying art, really. It's something that we don't see so much of now with the computer modeling that's in place and the way that it's seamlessly almost transitioning away from physical models and physical effects like these to digital.
Well, it's one of the reasons I'm so excited about what Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are doing with Mandalorian and a lot of the other Star Wars franchises now on television is the bringing back of practical models. John Knoll's been doing some motion control shots. I will say one of the other things that is really impressive about this piece after all this time is that it is still perfectly straight.
Yeah.
Like when people have tried to release products of the Enterprise, the biggest problem they have is the droop over time. It is a
stress.
wide expanse,
Yeah.
and these nacelles are very thin. And Greg has built something that is not aging, obviously.
Yeah. It's not giving, is it? I mean, it's really
No.
holding its form perfectly there at the moment, which is fantastic to see. It is delicate. I mean, this is also built with a full light rig as well, so you can see that there's some cable trailing here.
Yeah.
And we have had this on a couple of occasions, really just to photograph it and to capture it. Not something that we'd recommend doing over any long period of time. You know, we're talking about very old electrics that's in there now. Well, great grain of wheat bulbs that are in there, you know.
Yeah.
And also, it's almost impossible to get in there to do any repairs on it. You know, if something goes in there now or something gets damaged in there, you're not going to want to start to try and break this thing apart. But it does still light up. But I would just do that with whoever the future owner of this is, to do it with absolute care and attention.
The last time we were at the Smithsonian, we were covering the very first original series Enterprise, and they were in the long and involved process of swapping out all the lighting with LED.
Really?
Cool lighting so that they could have it lit up.
Yeah.
And famously, they were debating at a conference table about whether or not to light it up. When the curator stuck a flashlight in here and lit up the sides, there was no more debate about lighting it up.
No, it really does bring them to life, you know, and we'd love to do it. And actually, I know a number of other collectors who bought Trek model miniatures and other model miniatures as well, had the same conversation. It's like either you never see this thing illuminated and brought back to life again, or you very carefully and considerately remove it out. And you know, you can keep everything that was there that used to be in there, sure, but at least it allows you that cool light and low risk.
Is there only one mounting point in it, or were there other mounting points built into it?
That's a really good question, actually. I'm only really aware of the underside,
center.
but I feel like that would be unlikely that would be the only point. You know, you talk to anybody who works within the industry and they say, you know, it would be so short-sighted to only have one mounting point. You know, to me, it looks like this area here, the deflector array at the front here, is likely going to come out. So there could well be a mounting point in here.
Yeah.
I feel like possibly, you know, sometimes you'll see it in the top here, though. I feel like that's structurally might be a very difficult area to mount a line into. But then I think if we come round to the back, perhaps the back section here, this is a very common plot here. Yeah, let's get a torch in there. What do we got? We got the cables in there?
It looks like there's a block back here.
Okay.
And yes, there's a cable there, but it looks like there's a big chunk of aluminum back there. They might be able to.
Yeah. I would say that's probably going to be the way. And I mean, that's a very standard place for a film in miniatures, you know, to have a mounting point as well. But
it's not very common that a complete spaceship from a property shows up in your auctions.
No, I mean, they are really hard to come by these days. And most collectors who have acquired them over the years, they hold on to them. You know, they don't let them go again because they display so well. They tell a story, don't they, all as one artifact. There's so much going on here. Yeah. And I think it is a rarity and will continue to, as you say, there are some shows that are reintroducing them, but it's still few and far between by comparison to where it used to be. So I think it's just a really exciting piece for us to have.
It really is. And Greg is such a unique and specific model maker. It is a lovely depiction of the particular brilliance he brought to the craft.
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think he's so well known and so regarded for the work that he did on these shows as well. You know, it's all synonymous with who he was and his character and the world that he lived within. So for us to handle this piece right now is really exciting for us.
Look, I'm looking at it up the back and there's almost no drift whatsoever. It is perfect.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'd love to have a look inside there and just see exactly how this is all structured together. You know, what armature did he build to be able to support something that presents like that?
I so want to offer to do the lighting for you, but I shouldn't. But part of me wants to get inside this thing.
Yeah. No, what stories would be revealed if we did that?
Oh. Amazing. The auction's happening right now, yes?
It is. Yes, it's live online right now. So bidding is taking place as we speak. You can register at propstore.com and then it culminates in a 4-day live event that takes place November 3rd to November 6th. And we're super excited about it. And if you want to tune in, we live stream for every day for about 10 to 12 hours. So yeah, be prepared.
Well, thank you so much for letting me view these toys up close. They're incredible.
It's a pleasure, man.
Oh, I'm going to look at this mounting point here.
He's going in.